Good morning, Albert JTV, stroke Arsenal community. Sunday morning live with my brother from another mother. As Kevin, the great man, said, the Kevin Campbell derby. I think he's the only one that will be smiling down, thinking, you know what, that's the result that I kind of wanted. But people, before we get into the match reaction, let's smash the famous Albert JTV intro. See you soon, people.
And I can see the logic behind the signing, even though some Arsenal fans.
We actually worked a good passage of play.
Arsenal and footballing community. Like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Albert JTV. Good morning, people. Good morning. And welcome back to Albert JTV for the usual, sometimes Sunday 9 a.m. slot, just a little bit over. As you come in, smash the like button. We're actually going live, not just on Facebook, not just on YouTube, people, but there's a triple threat because I've got the main man with me, Kenny Kem. Also going live on Instagram as we speak. But yeah, people, obviously a 1-1 draw yesterday in the Kevin Campbell derby. But let me stop talking and get my brother from another mother into the live stream. Kenny Ken, welcome back to Albert JTV.
Hello, thank you very much for having me on. There's a little bit of background. I'm in the lobby. As you know, when you're in Manchester, there's a time to go to Manchester. You go for the boxing. You go, Arsenal are playing Man City, especially. But when you are in Manchester and it's a Manchester derby, you're taking life in your hands. But when you're in Salford Keys, which is, if you know Manchester, in South Manchester, you're right opposite a McDonald's. You're in a nice hotel. The food is lovely. Well, I'm going to find out after this. Till 11 o'clock. But, man, if you just look across to your right-hand side, you just see Trafford Way. Mm-hmm. You can't see Man United's stadium, but you can feel it, you can smell it. It doesn't smell too nice, as you can imagine. And all you can see is Man United. So even though it's coming up to about my watch, 9:04, the buzz, the anticipation. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are two clubs. They're not going to win anything. Well, Man United. Well, it's funny to say. Man United are in the quarterfinals of the Europa League against Lyon. Man City are in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Where they had Nottingham Forest, who lost yesterday. So they could win something. Again, we got something bigger on Thursday, haven't we?
Well said. Kenny Ken, we were talking backstage quickly. This is Kenny Ken's hat-trick appearance on Albert JTV. He says he's got the right foot, left foot, and he's got the header, so he's got the triple whammy, man. So we're glad to get him back on, man. I must say, big up to Suge, man, because Kenny Ken, they love you in the Oz, man. They love you in Australia, man. So Suge is from there, I think 11 hours ahead. Is that right, Suge? Let me know. But
I love Australians, me, we get on very well. Both love cricket.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got views on Arsenal as well. And I use, I suppose, I use an Australianism. I use the word pork chop to describe people, especially when they behave in ways that are making like a pork chop. So you get a lot of pork going on, and sometimes it's players, and sometimes it's people behind the scenes, and people in the fan base. So yeah, I use a lot of Australianisms. I've kind of picked up years ago. That suited me. I think I'll take that word anyway. Yeah. You know, a bit like I don't know if any of you guys watch Home and Away. You know, Alf, he has all these like I said, blow the steaming, flaming crows and all that, and it comes out all and he nicks it from someone who in Queensland.
Yeah,
when he was growing up, so he brought that into Home and the World, and that's one of his Alfisms.
Yeah, no, well said. Big up, Suge, man. He said it's 6:05 p.m. He said, okay. People, if you're watching on the visuals, Kenny Ken has not got a superpower. He's not lighting up like the Incredible Hulk. It's the lighting where he is. So don't get alarmed. But let's get into this, man. I'm going to do this a bit differently, actually, because I could talk about the game, which we will do, obviously. Kenny Ken, I saw that is Arsenal's 11th draw this season. Let that sink in, people. 11 draws. Kenny Ken, 7 of those games we've been ahead in. So that's a very damning statistic. I think looking at sort of the Premier League games, I think we've got 7, 8 games to go now. The maximum points Arsenal could end up with, Kenny Ken, is 83. That would be a point less than 2 seasons ago. And obviously we ended up on 91 points last season. I know people like their stats, but Kenny Ken, just a quick thought on that, because we can talk about a striker, we can talk about a left-sided winger, we can talk about this, we can talk about that, but 11 draws, my friend, man. That's more than double last season. We got 5 in the whole of last season. Come in, Kenny Ken.
Well, first and foremost, it's not a surprise, especially that game. If you think about it, both teams kind of defended the same way.
Yeah.
We had a very, very strong first half, especially the first half an hour where Everton was slow and we were a bit sharpish. And as much as people want to denigrate Sterling's performance and denigrate Trossard's performance and, have a go at Ranieri, it was actually them that have got Everton on the back foot. They're the ones who provided the pace.
Yeah.
Sterling was the one who was getting in behind. He was the one who was effective. Trossard was movement was causing Everton a lot of problems. Ranieri as well was part of that, strong runners. And that's where we're getting in and amongst Everton. Yes, not everything that they did was accurate, not every pass was accurate, but they were kind of effective. Sterling had a couple of shots blocked. And let's not forget, Sterling was the one who actually set up the chance for Trossard to pass away. And Everton were always on the back foot because of the runs that all 3 of them were making in behind. Not so much Ranieri. Ranieri was dropping back, but every time he got the ball, it was like basically like a sign for Trossard to make his run and Sterling to get in behind. So they're really getting effective. And as much as people were saying, "Oh, Sterling, oh, Trossard," never had Ranieri, they're actually very effective. And, we could have been 2 or 3 up. And yes, Sterling had a chance. We hit the bar. And there were times when Sterling got caught in a possession. But his job was to occupy stretch the Everton defence. And that's what all 3 of them did. Now, in the second half, we took off the pace.
Yeah.
Took off Saka. So we took off Sterling, put Saka on. He's feeling his way into the game. We brought on Martinelli. Obviously, he provides a bit of pace, but it wasn't the Martinelli of Tuesday. This is the Martinelli we've seen all season, last season, although he had a shot on goal. So what's happened? So Everton now have to deal with the pace of the attacks, Arsenal getting behind, Arsenal retreating back to their system of 2 low blocks. Everton again. Last game against Arsenal at Goodison Park, it's a Kevin Campbell derby.
Yeah.
Moyes would have given them a flea in the air because they were making mistakes and getting overrun by our players and outrun by attackers. They come out with a lot of pace. And we dictated the game. Raya was being Raya, getting caught in possession, because I think a lot of opposition now are thinking, right, sit on Raya and set traps for Raya, because he's what's happening is that he's getting a lot of time on the ball. Don't give him time on the ball, and that dictated what happened. And then obviously you want to talk about the penalty. I've heard these people saying it wasn't a penalty, but a friend of mine, Mark, who I saw on Tuesday, he thinks it is a penalty. And I'll tell you why he says that and why I've got my suspicion it is a penalty.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the balls. Kivior missed his header.
Yeah.
Ranieri, sorry, not Ranieri.
Lewis
Skelly.
Yeah.
Pessimistic. Doesn't matter how good you are on the ball. You can't assume as a defender.
Yeah.
You have to assume that the guy in front of you is missing his header. Even if he gets it, you have to prepare for the second phase of play. He didn't play for the second phase of play. He was in his back foot. Yes, he's got more pace than Jack Harrison, but Jack Harrison is going towards goal. And I always say, when you're defending and you're on your back, you're on a retreat, doesn't matter what you do. It's like boxing or anything. When you're on the retreat, someone's walking towards you and you're running back in the wrong direction, you are in the sort of default position, whilst the guy is in the ascendancy. It's hard to defend against. It doesn't matter how good you are. And he did quite well, but he held in. And then the foul continued in the box. Now, Myers Lewis-Skelly is the only person who knows what really happened in that box. Now, judging by what we've seen with Myers Lewis-Skelly, hand on heart, forget about any conjecture and forget about, you feel he's being picked on. You've seen his shithousery. You think, knowing what you know, that he was the innocent party, because I don't. Mark Mark didn't either because he was saying if it carries starts out of the box they're both going down and the player goes down and he's the one who's in front and there's the slightest of touches. It doesn't matter whether he means it or not. He's the one who's going towards goal. It's a penalty. And that's how I look at it. I get what the angles and that they're both holding each other. But, of course, Arsenal fans will look at different angles. It's the same with his sending off against West Ham. They looked at different angles. Apparently, Kudos was elbowing him, so he committed the first foul. That's the angle you want to see because you want to, promote the, like I said, the notion that Arsenal get done down by referees. But the fact is, he's on a back foot. He panics like he's done before. Remember the Fulham goals?
Yeah.
He was on the back foot. And Fulham had scored one of their goals and they had another chance where, again, in 60s and 7s, on the retreat, he's not in control of the situation. And so that's a goal. But even then, if you could look at Saka watch, there wasn't much energy from Saka. Saka's feeling his way.
There wasn't.
We know he's going to start and win against Real. Martinelli had his shot on goal. Declan Rice had a free kick. Apart from that, it was like both teams had a kind of an agreement that, it's 1-1, let's see it out. Everton, we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose against you in front of our fans, in front of the Marys and Kevin Campbell. Arsenal thought, this is Real Madrid. This is a fitness test. We're not going to win the league. We conceded the league officially. We knew that the league wasn't on anyway, so thought, let's just make sure we escape without any injuries. And that's how it panned out, especially after with 20 minutes to go. It didn't look like both teams had the will or the ability to win the football match.
Yeah, no, I hear it. For fair play. Now, you know what? We're both on the social, so I leave a lot of the Arsenal fans to get on with the whole kind of referees thing. But what I will say about it is it's a general point rather than it being about Arsenal. But I actually missed the penalty instant because I had to take a bathroom break. But I did actually see it back, and I didn't think it's a penalty. Of course, there's physical contact there. Even when you look at Harrison, he actually carried on with the play. I don't think he's even looking at the officials to say, you know what, he's tugged me down or whatever. He just carried on. So I don't think the referees in the last couple of games have covered themselves in glory in terms of the Merseyside derby, James Tarkowski. But listen, the refereeing standards thing is going to be a continual.
Well, you know what? Sorry to cut in, but
go on.
Even in the Merseyside derby at Goodson Park, Everton got away with a lot.
Both
of their goals should have been chalked off, especially the second goal. There was like fouls that were given, but referees, because it's Goodison Park, because of the atmosphere, the referees lost their bottle. But yeah, you're right. Yesterday, we thought it was out full time, but it was actually a free kick. And it was laughable, the whole situation. The whole game became a testimonial after Everton kind of scored. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But Kenny, you know what? You've heard people watching this back when you watch it now. You've heard me say this quite a few times, not just on my channel, but on other channels as well. Watching Arsenal this season, and people need to understand what I'm saying. I'm talking about pre-injuries as well as injuries now. It's not been an enjoyable watch, man. I don't expect Arsenal to every Kenny, if I had £1 for every time I watch an Arsenal game in terms of commentary, Arsenal look better when they move the ball quickly. I've heard that so many times this season, but the reality is we haven't done it enough this season before injuries and injuries. And Kenny, I've had this conversation with so many times. What really, really, really ticks me off of Arsenal is our inability to move the ball quicker. I want to be clear when I say that. I'm talking about when we get the ball in our defensive third and we can spring on teams quickly. But we're too keen and we're too eager and we're too set. And I'm going to come bring you back in because you're probably bringing Mikel into this. I've never seen an Arsenal side recycle the ball so much in their own half. We make it very, very easy for opposing teams. And it winds me up. I'll give you an example before I bring you in, Kenny Kens. I said this to you when I watched the England game, the second game against Latvia in international break. And people might not remember it, but I remember it. Kenny Ken will. Declan Rice got the ball. And I'm using him because obviously he plays for us. This is what I want to see him do a bit better in terms of getting on the half turn when he receives the ball. He had an easy ball to move to Marcus Rashford, who was free in space. And he went against that and he recycled the ball back to the central defenders. And it sounds like a very simple thing, what I'm saying, but it's actually quite irritating to watch because we can open up teams a lot better if our players got the ball in a half turn, or even just move the ball a bit quicker. You watch Erdegaard, for example, I'll bring Kenny in. Watch the amount of touches he takes before he released it to another Arsenal player. Just watch that alone. So come in, Kenny. It's one thing that's driving me mad.
Well, the thing is, I was speaking to Sophie on Thursday.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've noticed as well, we're doing it a bit last season, but last season, what we were doing is we were taking risks. We were getting overloads. Our set pieces were exemplary. Players were in form. And like I said, our energy was really at its highest.
Yeah.
But this season, the reason why we play like that is that it's no different because most teams play like that. We play. Mm-hmm. Only we do it better than most teams, especially when we don't have the ball. You think about it, most teams play low block and they try to make overloads difficult. Only when you try to overload this Arsenal side, it's very, very difficult to do that. You speak to any players, you speak to Ollie Aina and Nottingham Forest, he spoke to Sandberg. He mentions how difficult we are to break down. And Everton found that a bit frustrating as well, especially in that first half. But when we tire, teams do come at us. The reason why we move ball like that is that if you look at the team, look at the energy levels of our team in the second half, especially last half an hour.
Yeah.
Where even if we are a goal up, even if we are a couple of goals up, the opposition gets space. So can you imagine if we play like we did in 2023? Yeah. That's the reason why we play like we do, because Arteta's never got over what happened in 2023.
Yeah,
it's like ball. A lot of Arsenal fans pinpoint one player, Saliba, going out, and they blame Rob Holding for our title, defeat or our title surrender, whatever you want to call it. The fact is that we became easy to play against, even when we were winning games. Bournemouth at home, we won 3-2 last minute. Aston Villa away, Southampton 3-1 up. Mm-hmm. It's because we were playing at a lot of pace, and teams were catching us out. We're trying to play at the back. Obviously, we didn't have the goalkeeper to do it, i.e. in Ramsdale. Teams we began to set traps for us and used to score early goals against us or get equalised against us. So he thought, right, let me change the way we play. Let's just make ourselves compact. Always make sure that this never happens again. We never get overloads down the flanks, and we never get done on the counter-attack. So this is why you see this kind of slow build-up and slow plays, because you see the traps we set for other people. He wants to make sure it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
You look at the times when teams have abandoned the conservative way that everyone plays. We thrashed them. We thrashed PSV. We thrashed Sporting Lisboa. Crystal Palace ain't all that anyway. That's but Man City is the litmus test for the way we play if we're given space. Setting little traps, scored early, and then they got their equaliser in the second half, and then they came out trying to win the game, and we just had space after space after space and smashed them. This is what Arteta wants to do it, because he doesn't care whoever it is. He knows that on this day in the Premiership, if you give a team space, especially even the average teams, they'll hurt you. And he doesn't want that. And that's why we kind of play that. And that's why we've been like that all season. All season we've been like that. But if you talk about the way we play, teams have worked us out as well. Teams do know that there is a window that after half an hour, Arsenal tend to slow down a bit, especially if they don't get the second goal or even get their goal. And then second half, Arsenal are there for the taking because they do come at traps pretty slow. And then they have another second wind. But if you kind of relax and actually, see out that second wind, there is another opportunity. Like the overloads that you can't create in the first half, there are times when you can create the overloads because Arsenal will drop off. They will go forward. It doesn't even have to be Miles Lewis-Skelly. It could be Kieran Tierney. It could be Zinchenko, because it's that right-hand side where you know what? there's a bit of space now. They're tiring because it happens
Yeah.
in football, and that's what we've been like last season. I'm glad you mentioned that we haven't played well all season. You need to let a lot of Arsenal fans say that.
I've tried, man. I've tried,
A lot
man.
of Arsenal fans are stubborn. They generally believe it's injuries that have been our Achilles heel this season.
No, man,
Generally
it's-
believe it's suspensions, and they generally believe it's referee decisions. And they say there's extenuating circumstances. The transfer window this summer. Well, it's not really extenuating circumstances. That was given. You can't spend £200 million and then expect not to make a sacrifice the season before. We didn't make any sacrifices anyway. That's why we didn't have the money to spend. Selling.
Yeah.
selling
Kenny, you know what I'd say to that? Yeah. I mean, I've had this not even a running argument because Arsenal fans are going to have their opinions regardless of whatever me and you say or whoever's in the podcast stratosphere, whatever. But I always say to it, we finished 7 points ahead of Liverpool last season. And the season before that, I think it was 17 points ahead of them. Now look at the swing turnaround now. You can't purely put that onto injuries and refereeing decisions, man. They do play a part, of course they do. But as I said on the outside, and I'm bringing back in Kenny Ken, Arsenal have had double the amount of draws than last season. That's just fact. Come in, mate. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, reason why that's right. Reason why is because teams have worked us out. Teams are getting back into games. We're not putting teams away. It's not to do us not having a striker. It's that we're, let's not forget. People say, "Oh, striker." Well, if you look closely at how we play, you look at the personnel.
Yeah.
That we have. That formation, and like I said, the personnel and the tactics lend itself to goals across the team.
Yep.
Let's not forget, last season, there was goals across the team. As much as everyone says striker, and you're right, Erling Haaland eventually did make the difference because he scored 63 goals in 2 seasons. And that clearly has to be a contributing factor to them winning the league. But that's how Man City played. That's their way. But our way last season arguably nearly worked. Right, boss of the league. But we scored 91 goals doing it our way. And that was contributions from all over the, like I said, the forward line. The season before, there was contributions from Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, before he got injured, and after there was a contribution from Jesus. Havertz wasn't at the club. So that way, Mikel Arteta can say, well, we did this without a striker. The way he plays is that you love Gyökeres. I mean, you must be very happy that Gyökeres is
not just yet. I'm not naive.
You've got to be skeptical. But you look at how we play. Tell me how a striker is going to fit into our way of playing.
We've had this conversation. You're right. People can cry about wanting Isak or Gyökeres. People know I spoke about him since December 2023, but it lends into what you said before, and you said it before, so I'm not going to take flowers for it, where the way we play and the way we're set up, even you could say even with Pep, but even Pep said, we still need to go and get someone like Haaland. We got 91 goals last season by a committee. Even the season before, Kenny Ken, I think we got 88. So Mikel's thinking, actually, you know what? Maybe I don't. But he does know he needs a striker because he wanted Benjamin Sesko. Now,
yeah, but Benjamin Sesko's not your. Benjamin Sesko potentially, could be the player that gets you 20 or 30 goals a season because he's in the sort of like infancy of his career.
Yeah.
But if you look at the goal return and for his country and the goal return for Leipzig, I don't see evidence of 20 or 30 goal season.
Yeah.
He's the kind of player that will link up to the way we play. He's a player who thinks will happen. He's a player that you probably don't have to get the ball quickly up to the top, like you probably would have to do with a Gyökeres, or Gyökeres can come back and make runs, piercing runs. That's probably not the way we play. Remember, Arsenal play a certain way of playing. It's a build-up football. Most of the football that we see in the Premiership is build-up football.
Yes, because you're right. Because stylistically, you think is Mikel? He's a very stubborn man, anyway, as we know. But is he prepared to make the adjustments, tactical tweaks in order for Asesco to work or a Gyökeres to work in this side. Because it's not so much we're talking about the striker's talent in terms of coming to Arsenal, it's whether it's going to work under Mikel Arteta. And I'll quickly ask you about Mikel, Kenny Ken, in regards to what do you say to some? Because I have good people that I get on with who are kind of not even necessarily Arteta in, but they're behind the manager in regards to that dreaded word in football, give him more time. And my question to them is, okay, that's cool. Like, you can have your opinion in regards to behind the manager. So that means you're obviously behind the manager because you feel that he can deliver you silverware, right? Because that has to be the reason, Kenny Ken. That has to be the end goal. Because he's been here, it's 6 years now. And I've said this on Hybrid Squad, actually. I said it after we played, oh my God, what game was it? Oh God, was it Brighton? Yeah, Brighton away. And I said in the chat, and it probably didn't go down too well, Kenny Ken, but it happens, isn't it? In regards to, I just think, regardless of the personnel at the club, and this can happen at any club, by the way, whether you're going for a league title, you're pushing for Europe, or you want to avoid relegation, is sometimes you need to hear a new voice in the dressing room, tactics, the way we play, and it wouldn't be the be all and end all. It's not to denigrate what Mikel's done, but I'm of the volition that maybe the players need to hear a new voice, and I think it ties in. I'm going to bring in Kenny Ken. Obviously, we've got a new sporting director now, Andrea Berta, so we'll see how that relationship is going to work out. I think it's going to be interesting, to put it politely. But will bring your thoughts about Mikel and how the fans are still behind him, and it's got every right to be. But that's just my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah, they you got to remember, Ricky, in their eyes, Mikel has done things that are equivalent to winning a trophy.
Yeah,
you know, their first go to comment is, look where we are before. I've had
that. Yeah.
Last week, I think 2 weeks ago, I had a sort of WhatsApp exchange that lasted 2 days with someone you know very well, and he's not a sort of a Mikel fan as such, but he was of the same volition that he needs more time. He says, look where we were before. He talked about injuries, he talked about suspensions, he talked about the strikers, and it was like a back and forth. It was very like it was a debate. It wasn't insults, it was a debate. But there's people who say, well, look, the club was in its knees when Mikel took over. He got rid of the dead wood. He got rid of the poisonous characters. He created his own identity. He's taken us from 8th place to a position where we can now say we are genuine title challengers. He deserves a lot of credit like that. If he's given more money and wins his first trophy, we will dominate. That is the belief. They're desperate for Mikel to do well on that basis. So if you talk about the development of the squad, they will compare that to, say, Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup. They'll compare that to a team winning the FA Cup. That is Arsenal's trophy. That is Mikel's achievement. And they're saying, and it's in his first management job as well. So they're going to say, oh, look what he did when it wasn't even his team. He won the FA Cup. And I say, that's all well and good. But we're now at a stage where you have to win some sort of silverware.
Exactly.
Or if you're in a title race, you have to win that title race. And Mikel has failed to do that. I do feel the team has gone as far as they can with Mikel, that he's set some fantastic foundations. He definitely gets the best out of his players. His players are definitely, without exception, are playing for him.
100%.
But the fact is that they can't get over the line. There's always extenuating circumstances. Man City weren't particularly at their best. People say Man City won a treble, and of course they're at their best. Yeah, but if you look at the football Man City play, they're not a patch on that team that won the league with 100 points in 2018. And they're not a patch on that side who beat Liverpool 1 point, getting 98 points and winning 3 trophies. They're not a patch on that side. But they got over the line because we handed the title to them on both occasions. But being Man City, they waited and made sure they stayed in there. And you know what they did? They went on a winning run, which they do all the time. And put us under exemplary pressure, and we weren't able to withstand that pressure. This season, we've never been under pressure. We just haven't been. It's because we were never in the title race. Probably our biggest Achilles heel was two bit. One, we assumed because we got close last year, and I used that term loosely, that we'd be fine. We thought Man City would have a drop off. We hoped that Man City's drop off would include deduction of points. The title's ours. We didn't. We underestimated the challenge that Liverpool were going to pose to us. In fact, we disrespected it alarmingly, we've paid for it. We showed Liverpool complete disrespect. Liverpool got out of traps, and in essence, they never let us back in. They lost to Nottingham Forest. What they do after they lose to Nottingham Forest, they reacted. They reacted and came back just as strong and just as robust. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the situation. And if I remember right, Liverpool lost to Nottingham Forest at Anfield, beat Spurs.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it was the international break. And after the international break, they come out the traps whilst we've stuttered. And then that was the first mate. Let's not even forget, even when they lost to not the Forest. It wasn't as if we were neck and neck with them. We're behind them, and then because if memory serves me right, I think Man United were up the top by that time. I think. Yeah. Anyway, and then after the international break, the first one. Remember, we lost Odegaard.
Yeah.
After the second international break, there was we lost Odegaard after the first international break, and then after the second international break, Liverpool came out of traps, and we've never been that side. Yeah. Even with Saka, Saka's had some great numbers, but he hasn't had a standout performance. He's just got his numbers available. Yeah, he's got the goals and got the assists, and he hasn't had a burst of play. Havertz was Havertz. We had injuries to Odegaard. We lacked a bit of creativity. We were on shows, me and you both, where we lamented the lack of creativity. Whilst we were lamenting that, Liverpool winning games, Liverpool going on runs. Remember, they've only lost one game this season.
And Kenny, this is coming off the back. This is what winded me up with a lot of Arsenal fans. Because even when shows where I wasn't on, and as I like to say, I've got a channel, but I'm also a consumer of content, and I watch it from afar. And I see people say Liverpool haven't played anybody. We Arsenal's started the fixture at the start of the season. And I'm thinking, what are we doing here as Arsenal fans, man? Let's be serious here. So if you want us to be challenging for the Premier League, how can you look at the first dozen games of the season and go, oh, that's tough? Of course, it's going to be bloody tough. We're trying to win the Premier League. What? Who do you want us to play in the opening fixtures of the season for us to make it a little bit easier? Even if you look at the league table now as it stands, we are double-figure points ahead of Manchester City and Chelsea. We can't keep peddling out excuses as to why we haven't got it done, particularly off the back of what you've seen in the last couple of years. So, again, like I said, Arsenal fans are entitled to their opinion, but I'm fascinated to always ask them when they say in regards to the manager.
You look at our fixture list, right? There's no doubt we had a very difficult fixture list when we first started the season.
Of course.
We beat Wolves. We made heavy weather. We beat Wolves. It wasn't great, but it's the first game of the season where you get some lead in the pencil. You put lead in the pencil, you get energy in the legs. We beat them. We did enough to beat them. Aston Villa was a litmus test. We beat Aston Villa. We played very well. We missed a couple of chances. Chances. And we were able to score a couple of good goals with Trossard and Partey. And then the third game, Brighton, we were 1-0 up. We let Brighton in the game with a stupid sending off. Yeah. I said it was controversial. Brighton came back into it. And then afterwards, it was the national break. After the national break, I think it was a North London derby. We won that. Didn't do enough. As Man City, we should have won that game, but Trossard cost us with his stupidity. And then you think about that. We didn't lose any games. We negotiated difficult games, but what the theme was that we played Southampton, beat Leicester, but we made heavy weather of that, and that's where I got the feeling that teams were coming to our ground and were having a spell of play, and that's where the rot set in. We're winning the games, but we weren't winning the games convincingly. We weren't playing well. Teams were beginning to work us out. the teams that were good enough would have got a point, or the teams that weren't good enough would have made us work for those victories. Let's not forget Southampton late goals, Leicester late goals. Let's be honest with that. And I was saying that if a team gets their act together against us, I actually thought it would happen at the Emirates. Not so much away. That if all the parts fit in, i.e., defensively they're sound, midfield they're compact, and up top they're clinical. We'll get beaten, and that promptly happened against Newcastle, and it happened against Bournemouth. Don't believe, we went down 10 men against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth were murdering us anyway.
They were,
and that hasn't left us. Yeah, we haven't lost that many games. But you talked about the draws. Yes, the draws have been occurring because we haven't been playing well, and teams beginning to work us out. And then by the time the injuries happened, we all know. Let's face it, Liverpool are always favourites. They're always about 6 or 7 points above us, especially before Saka got injured.
Yeah.
When Liverpool dropped points, we never took advantage. If Liverpool dropped points, we dropped points as well.
No, well said.
If we did drop points, we'll drop points the next game and Liverpool go and win. Let's not forget, Liverpool down to 10 men against Fulham at Anfield. We were playing Everton at home, and we couldn't even. We drew at home when Liverpool was struggling to beat Fulham at Anfield. Drew 2-2.
Oh, that was the Kevin Campbell derby as well.
Robertson, that's an example of us when Liverpool got themselves into sticky pudding and a bit of quicksand. We still weren't able to sort of capitalise. The Everton game, I think were you there?
I was there, mate. It was dreadful.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, well, dreadful.
It was anger. There was anger. Lee Judge's channel got record views because there was anger. People were fuming.
Really poor.
He was angry. People were genuinely angry because that was a time when people psychologically knew the game was up. They knew we wouldn't win the league even then. That was just the 15th of December. I
said it before that. After we lost to Newcastle.
Yeah, but we knew we weren't going to win the league. But people didn't want to admit it. People at that time refused to admit they were never in the title race. But their anger, frustration, hurt, proved to me that it was the case that we were not in the title race and the title was over. The way they spoke, the way they wrote, the things they were writing on their socials, showed me that it wasn't an opportunity missed. And let's have some sort of clarity. Let's have sort of context. There was no context after Liverpool, and so after Everton, and after Man United in a cup, there was definitely no clarity. There was definitely no context, and it wasn't even the league. There was genuine anger. So we've had these points, and let's not talk about West Ham.
Oh God!
If you think about all of those three games, one in the FA Cup, 2 in the league. There's no evidence that we were in a title race, and there's no evidence that fans thought we were in a title race. People who think we're in a title race are in complete denial.
No, well, Ken, facts. That's why I love to get you on, man. This is why I got you on for the hat-trick appearance, man. But people, smash the like button if you're watching now. Obviously, like I said, we're live on Instagram as well, so hopefully people watch that back. Follow Kenny Ken on his socials. Just had the banner; it's just there. But before we're going to go for another probably 10-15 minutes because I want to turn our attentions to a rather big game on the Tuesday. But we'll do that right after a short little intro break. There you have it, people. Audio listeners, don't get alarmed. Like I said, a little bit of music to intro to subscribe to Albert JTV and follow my big bro, Kenny Ken, on his social media, on Instagram especially. Attention turns to, should I say, a rather big game on the Tuesday, which I have been lucky enough to get a ticket for in the ballot, unbelievably. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Arsenal fans have complained for many, many years about being in the higher echelons of the Champions League after a 7-year hiatus. It it doesn't get for me much bigger than this. 0 winners in Real Madrid. Yes, we could talk about their league form. They took a bad defeat yesterday. Valencia at home last minute. I think that leads them. Did Barcelona win yesterday, Kenny Ken? I don't know off the top of my head. Is that lead them 4th?
I think, or Barca, I think they drew because they said, I don't know, because they said Barcelona's didn't take advantage of Real's.
Right. So I think they're 4. I think they're 4 points ahead. Yeah, Barcelona. But yeah,
I can only assume Barcelona dropped points as well.
Yeah, so I think the gap is 4 people. Let me know in the chat. I think it's 4 points at the top now. But yeah, I saw the winning goal for Valencia. Pandemonium at the Bernabeu, man. Wow. But yeah, I think they had a young teenager guy in goal yesterday because the backup goalkeeper who's obviously in for Quartar has got a slight injury. But Kenny Ken, we spoke during the Everton game yesterday in terms of, I think the fact Saka came on at halftime was more than a clear indication he will start Tuesday. I'm going to get both teams up, Kenny Ken, in terms of Madrid and Arsenal on the screen. Let me see if I can find it. It is here. Yes, right there. So does that back 4 stay the same for you, Kenny Ken, or is there a couple tweaks there with Timber?
Madrid or Arsenal?
Arsenal.
Well, the back 4 doesn't stay like that. The back 4 will include Rice, White will be dropped, and Timber will play. Timber has to play.
Yeah.
So Benjamin White gives us things in the attacking areas, but defensively, Timber gives us a lot more, and then some.
Yeah.
And it's shown. He's the better defender. He's the better footballer. Benjamin White's a better attacker, but all-round player. Timber's obviously got to work on his attacking game, but in terms of like his ability to play in central defence, his ability to invert is superior to that of Benjamin White's. So he's definitely a play for me. The back line doesn't change for me.
No, well said. I agree. In terms of the Madrid side, I mean, I don't think that will obviously be the starting team. That was the lineup that started yesterday. And I said this to you before in regards to when I went to the Arsenal. I went to the England-Albania game at Wembley. I took my nephew, 8-year-old. But I have to say, Jude Bellingham, I've obviously watched him play quite a few times, but when you see someone sort of live in the flesh as opposed to when you see him on TV, it's a different kettle of fish. Yeah, Jude Bellingham, man, he's a player, man. I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play.
You know what? Sorry, there are times, and I've seen he plays and he's built like Ruud Gullit.
Yeah, he's specimen.
Built like Ruud Gullit on the football pitch. He plays a little bit like Ruud Gullit. The positions that Ruud Gullit finds him. Obviously, Ruud Gullit could also play as a sweeper. I'm sure Jude might do that when he gets older. But in terms of the way they play and the positions they find themselves in the football pitch, he probably hasn't seen Ruud Gullit play. But he actually like Ruud Gullit. In terms of positions he takes in the football field and his ability to want to get into those sort of sort of like number 10 and number 8 areas, he plays a bit like him. And he's got the kind of goal threat as Ruud as well.
Yeah. So it's like I said. I know we've seen a lot of Arsenal play this season. Our football in the Champions League has been slightly better than it is in the Premier League. I think so, anyway. Because obviously, when you're coming up stylistically against a lot of European teams, they probably do give us a little bit. We probably do find a little bit more spaces in between than we do in the Premier League because they're just used to.
You know it is though.
Go on, mate.
The reason why, if you even look at the Europa League, English football, because a lot of our players physically and athletically, we're used to playing at higher tempo.
Yes, that's the key word.
So because we're used to playing at higher tempo, the transition into the European football isn't like. We actually cope with it a lot well. You even look at Man United, as bad as they play. You look how physically they're better than Real Sociedad. Look at how physically they're better than their opponents. And it was us in the Champions League. Physically, and athletically, we're better than Sporting Lisbon. We're better than PSV, and that is why there's no surprise that us and Aston Villa have got as far as we could. Liverpool should have, if they didn't panic and actually played as though they're 1-0 up, probably would have got for us PSG, because PSG just didn't want to win that game because they kept on missing chances, but eventually they got through. But you think about it, that the physicality is where we've made it tell. Last season we kind of did the same thing. And you can't estimate how physically stronger we are than our opponents. Obviously, the better teams match us physically, but also tactically. That's where we do come unstuck when it gets to the latter stages. Because, as I say, in the last 16 quarterfinals and semi-finals, you're only going to play good teams.
Yeah.
Good teams are going to have good coaches, good tacticians, and players who will match you for your strengths, but may, like I said, outflank you because they have a little bit more than you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Brahim Diaz play as well. Good player, man. Really good player. But Kenny, I want to finish up on. Great to get your views, man. But obviously, it was very synonymous day yesterday. As I said, the Kevin Campbell derby, man. Miss him, man. Like some of the voice notes me and Kevin used to play sent each other. It was crazy. But big up to the Arsenal and Everton fans for a fantastic minute's applause on the 9th minute. Great pictures I'm going to put up on the screen. Mr. Big Man, and he is. He was one of our own, man. The Evertonians love him. Obviously, spent time in Turkey, the Midlands, West Brom. Any other clubs I've forgotten, forgive me. But yeah, sorely missed, man, and infectious smile, infectious person. Kenny Kens, any final words, my friend, to say?
Well, it goes without saying is that we've been getting to Everton. He went there with an open mind. He took his chance, and the Everton fans just fell in love with him. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just his goals. He fell in love with the club.
Yes.
Everyone knows that Kevin's an Arsenal fan first and foremost. It's an open secret. He was an Arsenal fan as a kid growing up in Brixton. But to go to a club and fully understand what that club was about, and I'm talking about Everton, and to get the Evertonians to, fall in love with the area to the extent that he still lives, obviously he lived in Manchester, but Everton was his club as well. Mm-hmm. So to have that ability to have two clubs that absolutely love you, it's a testament to the man. And as a man, Kevin Campbell, he could have been the big-time Charlie if he really wanted to. He could have just looked at us and said, yeah, all right, you've got your pictures. Right, I'm a bit busy now. Don't want to see you. I'm going to go on Sky Sports where I'm going to mix with my peers. Yeah. And I'm going to elevate myself to people that are going to open doors for him. But he didn't do that. He was very engaging. Built up a friendship with league judges. Lovely guy, but a very unremarkable person like us. We're all unremarkable. But he built up a very close friendship. He built up friendships with people with the podcast, but his partnership with Sophie was so natural.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Both of them brought something to that great show. Kevin Campbell, enthusiasm for like I said, Arsenal. But you know what? They taught each other things. Yeah. Kevin Campbell, football expert, but Sophie has a journalistic background. So in that journalistic background, she had strengths over Kevin. So it was a case. It was a mutual partnership. It wasn't a serious partnership, and they bounced off each other. They bounced off each other. It was a genuine partnership where both of them had their expertise. Both of them, did something. Kevin, when he first did his podcast, was learning his game, and he kind of learned it. Sophie was very helpful in that. Yeah. So you got to remember that he's very much missed, but it's the man itself. Had time for everyone, Kevin. Had time for everyone. And when I heard he was ill, I feared the worst.
Yeah, of course.
I heard what he went through, and when he lost, I just feel like an air of sympathy and sadness because it's a young man who was taken from us, and it's going to take a long time for people to get over it. Because I think when things like this happen, you don't see light at the end of the tunnel. But there are testament that people do smile again. People do smile. They do laugh, and they do have great memories of their loved ones, especially someone like Kevin. And Kevin is very missed, and you can imagine him being on a podcast with him was bloody murder.
I've seen him, man. I've seen him.
But Kenny, that's what I missed about him. But Kenny, I've got a moment. You go, but Kenny.
Yeah.
That's my memories of Kevin Campbell.
No, well said, man. Yeah, like I said, I have a content series on my channel called Life Stories, which you've been part of, Kenny. Ken, you did a brilliant episode, by the way. And obviously, when I had him and Sophie on, it was hilarious. And anybody that hasn't seen it, but they probably have seen it when he went on the podcast twice over with the guys from oh God, I forgot the names now. We did the podcast. People in the chat, you might remember. Oh, it's gonna kill me now. But I'm gonna say it before I'm gonna find it. Is it under the Kosh podcast? The guys, I think it is the three guys.
Under the Kosh, Kevin Campbell. Brian Duff is unbelievable.
Yeah. People, if you have not seen it, you need to watch that. Just make sure. I got told if you listen to that podcast, make sure you're not driving and you're sitting down in the comfort of your own home because you're gonna laugh. The Brian Clough stories were absolutely.
They're absolutely phenomenal.
But people, I want to beg up the people in the chat. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I will put this on the audio, so you'll hear that as well. Like I said, it went live on Instagram as well. But I'm going to finish the show with playing out some music and a picture of the beautiful man himself. And as Kevin's had a famous saying, he said to a lot of people, I'm going to find it and put it on the screen. Very simple words he said. He said, Albert, tell your loved ones that you love them. And I think that's probably the best way to end the show. Sorely miss Kevin Campbell by the football community and the loved ones that were the nearest and dearest to you. But yeah, you'll be sorely missed, my friend. And people, that is Albert JTV over and out for the match reaction. Rest in peace, the legend that is #Super Kevin Campbell.